Dr. Alan Wright stared at the screen, his eyes wide with disbelief. The signal pattern repeated itself again, unmistakable against the background noise of space. After 20 years of scanning the stars, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence had finally found something. "Get me the director," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. 3 days later, observatories across the globe confirmed what Wright's team had discovered. The signals were artificial and originated from somewhere near the Epsilon Eridani star system, approximately 10.5 light-years from Earth. But what shocked the scientific community wasn't just the existence of the signal. It was that the signal was clearly meant for Earth. The year was 2045. Humanity had established permanent bases on the Moon and Mars. The first manned mission to Europa was underway. But despite all these advances, no one was prepared for what happened next. The signals began to translate themselves. Computer systems worldwide suddenly displayed the same message in every known human language. "We are the Celestials. We have watched your development. The time has come for you to know your place in the universe." Panic spread across the globe. Religious leaders claimed it was the end times. Governments mobilized their militaries. The stock market crashed, then recovered, then crashed again. In Washington, D.C., President Garfield called an emergency meeting of his national security team. The room was tense as intelligence officers and military personnel filed in. "What do we know?" asked the president. "Not enough," replied General Lisa Burton, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. "The signals are coming from multiple points now, all approaching our solar system." Dr. Olivia Patel, director of extraterrestrial research, cleared her throat. "Mr. President, there's something else. We've been analyzing the mathematical structures embedded in the transmissions. They contain information, histories of other worlds." The room fell silent as Patel brought up holographic images. They showed magnificent alien cities, strange creatures bowing before shimmering beings of light. And then, destruction. Civilizations reduced to ruins, populations enslaved. "They're not just making contact," Patel continued. "They're showing us what happened to others who met them. These Celestials have visited at least 7 other civilizations that we can identify from the data. In each case, they arrived as gods demanding worship and tribute. What happened to those who refused?" the president asked. Patel's expression darkened. "They were made examples of." The United Nations convened an emergency session the following week. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth united around a common threat. Old enemies sat side by side as humanity faced its greatest challenge. Dr. Wright presented the scientific findings while Commander Patel showed evidence that the Celestials had systematically enslaved other species across the galaxy, posing as divine beings to exploit developing civilizations. "They feed on worship," Patel explained to the assembled world leaders. "Not metaphorically. They actually consume the energy produced by belief and submission. The more a population believes in their divinity, the stronger they become." When the vote came, it was unanimous. Humanity would not submit. As delegates filed out of the UN building, a brilliant light appeared in the sky above New York. It grew brighter until it outshone the sun. Communications worldwide were interrupted by a single transmission. "Your defiance is noted. We have arrived." Massive ships appeared in orbit around Earth, structures so large they created visible shadows on the planet's surface. Smaller craft descended through the atmosphere, heading toward major cities. In a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Garfield addressed what remained of his cabinet. "They expect us to surrender," he said. "They expect us to worship them as gods. But they've made a critical mistake." "What's that, sir?" asked General Burton. The president's face hardened. "They should have studied our history more carefully. Humanity has a long tradition of killing its gods." The world watched in stunned silence as the massive celestial ships positioned themselves over major cities. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to bend light around it. For 3 days, they hovered without communication, a silent threat hanging in the sky. On the 4th day, A smaller vessel descended toward the United Nations headquarters in New York. World leaders had gathered again, some in person, others through secure video links. Armed forces surrounded the building, though everyone knew their weapons would likely be useless against beings who could cross interstellar space. A being emerged from the ship. It looked almost human but stood nearly 8 feet tall with skin that shimmered like polished opal. It called itself Zuriel, ambassador of the Celestials. "We bring order to chaos," Zuriel announced, its voice somehow reaching everyone without the need for microphones. "We have guided countless civilizations to greatness. Those who accept our guidance prosper. Those who resist do not." President Garfield stepped forward. "We already have our own governments, our own religions. We don't need new gods." Zuriel smiled, revealing teeth that looked like small diamonds. "Let me demonstrate why you are wrong." With a simple gesture, Zuriel lifted a tank positioned outside the building. The massive war machine floated effortlessly into the air, then crumpled like paper as invisible forces crushed it. Soldiers raised their weapons, but found them turning to dust in their hands. "Your technology is primitive," Zuriel continued. "Your understanding of the universe is that of children. We offer advancement, knowledge, protection." "At what cost?" asked Chancellor Wei of the European Union. "A reasonable tribute, 10% of your planet's resources, 10% of your population to serve as our attendants. The rest may continue their lives, improved by our presence." The demand sent murmurs of shock through the assembly. 10% of humanity, over 800 million people, to be handed over as servants. "And if we refuse?" President Garfield asked. Zuriel's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the room dropped noticeably. "Then we will take 20%, then 30%. Examples will be made until you understand your place." To demonstrate, Zuriel raised a hand toward the sky. Above Delhi, one of the celestial ships emitted a beam of light. Live video feeds showed an entire neighborhood simply vanishing, leaving nothing but a perfect empty circle where thousands had lived moments before. "You have 7 days to prepare your tribute," Zuriel said before turning back to its ship. "Choose wisely." As the Celestial departed, emergency sessions began worldwide. Military leaders confirmed what everyone feared. Earth's weapons had no effect on the celestial ships. Nuclear missiles launched at one vessel in orbit simply disappeared before impact. In a secure bunker beneath the White House, President Kate Simmons, who had replaced Garfield as the spokesperson for the global coalition, met with a small group of scientists and military officials. "Options?" she asked simply. Dr. Henry Mills slid a tablet across the table. "We've been analyzing the energy signatures from their ships. They're powerful, but not omnipotent. There are patterns we can exploit." "Can we fight them?" General Noah Burton asked. "Not directly," Mills admitted. "But we found something interesting. When they demonstrated their power, we detected energy fluctuations. They're consuming something from us. From our fear, our awe." President Simmons looked at the data. "You're saying they feed on our reactions to them?" "Their power increases in direct proportion to the belief energy they absorb," Mills confirmed. "The more we fear and worship them, the stronger they become." Simmons nodded slowly. "Then we need to give them the opposite." She turned to her chief of staff. "Initiate Project Icarus. Full authorization, worldwide coordination." "Madam President," her aide warned, "that means war." "They already declared war," Simmons replied. "They just expected us to surrender without fighting back. Let's show these gods what humans do to tyrants." Dr. Henry Mills hadn't slept in nearly 3 days. The underground research facility in Colorado had become both his workplace and home since the Celestials' ultimatum. Around him, scientists and military personnel worked frantically, fueled by caffeine and desperation. "Another simulation failure," said Major Steve Donovan, rubbing his tired eyes. A former Navy SEAL turned Special Operations Commander, Donovan had been assigned to lead the military aspect of Project Icarus. "We're missing something," Mills muttered, staring at the equations on his screen. The Celestials' power isn't magic. It follows rules, patterns. Lisa Rodriguez, a brilliant engineer who had been developing quantum computing systems before the invasion, looked up from her workstation. What if we're thinking about this all wrong? We keep trying to block their energy absorption. What if we disrupt it instead? This simple insight sparked a breakthrough. Over the next 48 hours, Rodriguez developed a prototype device that could create targeted electromagnetic pulses tuned to the specific frequency the Celestials use to harvest belief energy. Meanwhile, across the globe, resistance cells formed. The world governments had publicly appeared to begin preparations for tribute selection, but secretly, they were preparing for war. Weapons were distributed, underground bunkers were expanded, and the population was quietly informed. Do not worship, do not fear, resist. On the 6th day after the ultimatum, a celestial scout ship descended on the Nevada desert where early tests of Rodriguez's disruption device were being conducted. Whether they had detected the energy signatures or had informants among humans remained unknown. "They're coming in fast," warned Air Force Captain Judy Martinez, monitoring radar screens. 3 minutes until contact. Mills and Rodriguez rushed to complete the final calibrations on the prototype. It wasn't ready for field testing, but they had no choice. "Everyone get to defensive positions," ordered Major Donovan. "Remember, conventional weapons are a last resort. They barely scratch these things." The celestial ship, smaller than the massive vessels in orbit, but still the size of a commercial airliner, hovered above the facility. A blinding light erupted from its underside, and the main entrance to the bunker collapsed. 5 celestial soldiers emerged from the ship. They looked almost human but moved with unnatural grace, their armor flowing like liquid metal across their bodies. "Surrender the device and your deaths will be painless," their leader announced, voice resonating without seeming to come from its mouth. In response, Rodriguez activated the disruptor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air seemed to shimmer around the Celestials. Their smooth movements became jerky. Their glowing eyes flickered. "It's working," Rodriguez shouted. "Their energy absorption is breaking down." The Celestials raised their weapons, devices that looked like crystalline spears, but they moved slowly as if underwater. Major Donovan gave the signal, and the human defenders opened fire with conventional weapons. For the first time, bullets didn't simply dissolve before reaching their targets. The Celestials' armor cracked under the impact, leaking a luminous blue fluid. But the victory was short-lived. The disruptor overheated, sparks flying from its circuits as it failed. Immediately, the Celestials regained their power. A wave of force knocked the human defenders backward, killing many instantly. "Fall back," Donovan ordered. "Rodriguez, Mills, get out now. Take the data." As they retreated deeper into the facility, the Celestials advanced. Donovan and a small team of soldiers made a last stand, buying time for the scientists to escape with their research. By dawn, the Nevada facility was destroyed. 87 humans died in the battle, but something invaluable had been gained: proof that the Celestials could be hurt, and a captured piece of celestial technology taken from one of the fallen soldiers. As their transport helicopter flew east, Mills studied the alien device. "They're not invincible," he said quietly. "And now we know how to fight them." The captured celestial technology proved to be the key breakthrough humanity needed. In a secret underground laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, scientists Peter Grant and Nicole Harper worked day and night studying the strange crystalline device. "It's not technological in the way we understand it," Harper said, carefully examining the object through specialized scanning equipment. "It's almost like it's alive." Grant nodded. "The molecular structure keeps changing, adapting. It's responding to our tests." After 3 days of continuous analysis, they made their discovery. The Celestials weren't alien beings in the traditional sense. They were ancient energy forms that had evolved consciousness millions of years ago. The physical bodies they displayed were merely vessels, constructs to help them interact with material beings. They'd been doing this for thousands of years, Grant explained to the emergency council that had formed to coordinate Earth's resistance. They find developing civilizations, present themselves as gods, and feed off the energy produced by worship and belief. Harper added, the worship literally strengthens them. It's a form of energy transfer. When beings believe the Celestials are all-powerful, that belief becomes a kind of fuel. President Simmons frowned. So they're parasites, not gods. Exactly, Harper confirmed. And they're not invincible. They've just convinced everyone they are. Armed with this knowledge, the Resistance developed new weapons. Using principles of quantum entanglement, they created devices that could disrupt the energy fields the Celestials use to maintain their physical forms. The technology was crude and limited, but it was a start. The first true test came when a Celestial patrol ship descended on Chicago. The city had been evacuated days earlier as part of the supposed tribute preparation, but was actually setting the stage for an ambush. Captain Will Martinez led a small team armed with the new quantum disruptors. They waited until the Celestial ship landed, and its occupants emerged, searching for humans to collect. Hold until they're all exposed. Martinez whispered into his comm unit. Remember, aim for the center mass where their energy is most concentrated. The 5 Celestials moved with their characteristic fluid grace, their forms shimmering with internal light. They appeared confused by the empty streets. Now, Martinez ordered. From dozens of hiding places, resistance fighters activated their disruptors. The air rippled with invisible energy as the quantum field generators came online. The Celestials froze, their forms flickering like bad television signals. Martinez and his team opened fire with specialized ammunition developed from the captured Celestial technology. The rounds penetrated the disrupted energy fields, causing the Celestial forms to destabilize further. For the first time, humans were winning a direct confrontation with the invaders. 4 of the Celestials collapsed, their energy dispersing in flashes of light. The 5th managed to reach its ship and escape, but the message was clear. The gods could bleed. The victory was broadcast secretly around the world, carefully avoiding detection by the Celestial motherships still in orbit. Hope spread through the resistance networks. Then came the most surprising discovery of all. While examining communication data from the destroyed Celestials, Dr. Grant found messages referencing the others. There are more species fighting them, he announced to the War Council. We're not alone in this resistance. Analysis of the data revealed that at least 3 other civilizations across the galaxy had been fighting the Celestials for centuries. These species, identified as the Orcs, Tellurians, and Vashi, had developed technologies specifically designed to combat Celestial influence. Most importantly, the data contained potential communication frequencies. Humanity might be able to contact these alien resistance fighters. If we can reach these other species, Harper said, we could share knowledge, coordinate our efforts. The Celestials have been dividing and conquering worlds for millennia. Perhaps it's time for their victims to unite. President Simmons nodded grimly. Open the channel. Tell them Earth is fighting back, and we want to join forces. For the first time since the Celestials arrived, a genuine smile crossed Martinez's face. From gods to hunted in less than a month. I don't think they saw that coming. The message from Earth traveled through carefully hidden quantum channels, avoiding detection by the Celestial monitoring systems. For 3 tense days, there was no response. Then, on the 4th day, the communication array beneath Mount Denali lit up with incoming transmissions. We receive you, Earth fighters, came the translated message. The Arxian resistance acknowledges your struggle. You are not alone. Within hours, 2 more responses arrived, one from the crystal-based Tellurians and another from the gaseous beings known as the Vashi. Each had been fighting their own battle against Celestial domination for generations. They've been waiting for this, said Ambassador Jack Foster, a former diplomat chosen to lead communications with the alien allies. The Celestials have kept their conquered worlds isolated from each other deliberately. The alliance formed quickly. Each species had developed different methods of resistance, different technologies to combat their so-called gods. The Arctians had mastered energy disruption. The Tellurians had developed stealth technology that could hide entire planets from celestial detection, and the Voshi had created a way to shield minds from celestial influence. Engineer Susan Blake led the team adapting these alien technologies to work with human systems. The principles are universal, she explained to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We just need to adjust for our materials and energy sources. Meanwhile, on the surface, the situation grew dire. The 7-day deadline had passed, and the Celestials had begun their punishment. Cities around the world suffered devastating attacks. Paris, Lagos, and Sydney were partially destroyed in demonstrations of power. Millions died. Yet something unexpected happened. Instead of breaking humanity's will, the attacks strengthened it. People refused to bow down. Underground networks spread the truth about the Celestials, that they fed on worship and fear, that they weren't truly gods at all. In orbit above Mars, hidden from celestial detection by Tellurian cloaking technology, the Allied fleet began to assemble. Ships from Earth were joined by vessels from the 3 alien races, forming the first multi-species military force in human history. We have 753 combat-capable vessels, reported Fleet Admiral Greg Wilson during the final strategic meeting. It's not much against the celestial motherships, but with the combined technologies, we have a fighting chance. The Arctian commander, a being that resembled a tall, slender humanoid with iridescent skin, added, "Our recent intelligence suggests the Celestials have begun to weaken. Your people's resistance to worship is unprecedented. They expected to be feeding on your belief energy by now. Instead, humanity had embraced the resistance. Even as cities burned, the global population maintained their defiance. Monuments to gods were torn down. Religious leaders reframed their teachings to focus on human resilience rather than divine power. The energy the Celestials had expected to harvest was being denied to them." On Earth, Susan Blake's team completed the final component of their plan, a planetary-scale belief disruptor network. Using satellite relays and ground-based transmitters, they could project a field that would prevent the Celestials from absorbing any worship energy, even from those too frightened or loyal to resist. "The system is ready," Blake reported to President Simmons. "Once activated, it will cover 90% of the planet's surface. And the Celestials won't detect it." Simmons asked. "Not until it's too late. The Tellurians helped us mask the energy signature. Across the solar system, final preparations were made. The Allied fleet ran battle drills. Resistance fighters on Earth moved into position near key celestial outposts. The belief disruptor network was armed and ready to activate. Send the message to all Allied forces," ordered President Simmons from the Underground Command Center. "Operation Thunderbolt commences in 24 hours. Ambassador Foster looked around the room at the determined faces, human and alien alike, united in purpose. "For thousands of years, the Celestials have posed as gods," he said quietly. "Tomorrow, they learn what it means to face the united will of their former worshippers." As if in response, the largest celestial mothership moved into position directly above Washington, D.C., its massive shadow darkening the ruins of the once proud capital. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. The Alliance fleet emerged from behind the moon, dropping their cloaking shields simultaneously. 800 ships of various designs. Human vessels alongside the organic-looking Arctian craft, crystalline Tellurian ships, and the cloud-like structures of the Voshi, approached Earth in tight formation. General Diana Powell, commanding from the flagship Defiance, watched as the celestial vessels registered their presence. The massive enemy ships began to shift position, moving to intercept. "All vessels maintain course," Powell ordered. "Weapons hot but hold fire until we reach the engagement line." On her command screen, she could see the positions of ground forces worldwide. Resistance fighters waited near celestial outposts on every continent. The planetary belief disruptor network was ready to activate on her signal. "They're hailing us," reported her communications officer. The image of Zuriel appeared on the main screen. The Celestial looked less radiant than before, its opalescent skin slightly dimmed. "This resistance is pointless," Zuriel said. "You merely delay the inevitable. Submit now, and we may yet be merciful." Powell smiled coldly. "We're not here to submit. We're here to accept your surrender." Zuriel's expression flickered with something that might have been surprise. "You cannot defeat gods." "Good thing you're not gods," Powell replied, cutting the transmission. She turned to her tactical officer. "Commence attack pattern Omega. Signal ground forces to begin their assault." The fleet split into 3 battle groups. The Arxian ships moved to engage the largest celestial mothership, while human and Tellurian vessels targeted the smaller craft. The Vashi cloud ships dispersed, surrounding the battlefield with a protective field that blocked celestial communications with their ground forces. On Earth, resistance fighters launched coordinated attacks on celestial outposts. Using the adapted alien technology, they were able to breach the energy shields that had previously made these structures impenetrable. Lieutenant Eric Gonzalez piloted his experimental craft toward the heart of the main celestial mothership. His vessel, barely large enough for one person, had been designed for a single purpose: to deliver a quantum disruption device directly into the enemy's power core. "Approaching target," he reported, receiving heavy fire. His ship rocked as energy beams struck its shields. The specially designed hull, incorporating Tellurian crystal technology, absorbed most of the impact, but warning lights flashed across his console. "Shields at 40%, he muttered to himself. "Just need to get a little closer." In orbit above North America, Dr. Laura Chen monitored the Belief Disruptor Network from a heavily protected satellite station. "All transmitters online," she reported. "Ready to activate on your command, General." Powell watched as the battle unfolded. The Allied fleet was taking heavy losses, but they were inflicting damage as well. The celestial ships, for the first time, showed signs of vulnerability. "Activate the disruptor network," she ordered. Chen pressed the sequence of commands. Across the planet, hundreds of transmitters powered up simultaneously, creating a web of energy that blanketed the Earth. The effect was immediate and visible. The celestial ships dimmed noticeably, their weapons fire becoming less intense. "It's working," Chen exclaimed. "Their energy levels are dropping by 30%, 40%. Gonzalez saw his opportunity. With the celestial mothership's defenses weakened, he pushed his craft to maximum speed, diving toward an opening in the massive vessel's structure. "I see the target," he reported. "Energy core is visible." Preparing to deploy disruptor. Inside the mothership was a swirling vortex of light, the central core where the Celestials stored their harvested belief energy. Gonzalez armed the quantum disruption device and set the timer. "Disruptor deployed," he reported. "I need extraction in 30 seconds or..." His transmission cut off as celestial defenders fired upon his ship. The small craft spun out of control, its engines failing. Powell watched the tactical display with grim determination. "All ships, focus fire on the mothership. Give Gonzalez cover for extraction." The Allied fleet converged, pouring fire into the celestial vessel. Its shields flickered and failed in several sections. A Tellurian extraction ship darted forward, locking onto Gonzalez's damaged craft. "We have him," came the translated report. "Extraction complete." Moments later, the quantum disruptor detonated. The celestial mothership shuddered as its energy core collapsed, creating a chain reaction through its systems. Massive explosions tore through the vessel, ripping it apart from within. For the first time in the battle, Powell allowed herself a small smile. All forces pressed the advantage. The gods are falling. The destruction of the celestial mothership marked the turning point in the war. As the massive vessel broke apart in Earth's orbit, a shockwave of energy rippled outward, temporarily disrupting celestial communications and power systems throughout the solar system. Commander Ryan Bennett led the final assault team. Their mission was perhaps the most daring of all: to breach the dimensional threshold where the Celestials' true forms existed. Scientists had discovered that the physical manifestations humanity had been fighting were merely projections from a pocket dimension anchored just outside normal spacetime. Breach point identified, reported navigator Amy Klein from the control station of their specialized craft. Dimensional coordinates locked. The ship, a hybrid of human engineering and alien technology from all three allied species, approached the shimmering distortion in space created by the collapsing mothership. Behind them, the battle continued as Allied forces pressed their advantage against the weakened Celestial fleet. "All personnel secure for dimensional transition," Bennett ordered. His team of 12, specialists in combat, science, and alien communications, checked their equipment one final time. The ship passed through the breach, experiencing a moment of impossible distortion as reality itself seemed to bend around them. Then suddenly, they were elsewhere, a realm of swirling energy patterns and structures that defied human understanding. "My God," whispered Dr. Gary Wilson, the team's physicist. "They've been here all along, right beside our universe, but separate from it." In this dimension, the Celestials appeared as they truly were: massive constructs of pure energy, ancient and powerful, but clearly finite. Not gods at all, but beings who had evolved to exploit less advanced species. The Celestials sensed the intruders immediately. Energy tendrils reached toward the human vessel, but the combined protective technologies of the Alliance held firm. "They're trying to communicate," reported Communications Officer Maria Davis. "I'm picking up energy patterns similar to their previous transmissions." The ship's systems translated, "How dare you enter the realm of the divine? Your existence is blasphemy." Bennett activated the ship's main weapon, a device that could redirect the Celestials' own energy back against them, creating a feedback loop that would destabilize their forms. "This is Commander Ryan Bennett of Earth," he transmitted. "You are not gods. You are parasites who have fed on worship and fear for too long. Your reign ends today." The battle in the energy dimension was unlike any fought before. The human ship maneuvered through attacks of pure force, firing precisely targeted bursts that disrupted the Celestials' cohesion. One by one, the energy beams began to falter and fade. Finally, only one remained, the largest and most powerful, the entity that had presented itself as Zuriel. "You cannot destroy us completely," Zuriel's energy pattern communicated. "We have existed since before your species crawled from the oceans." "We don't need to destroy you," Bennett replied. "We just need you to understand that the age of false gods is over." The weapon fired one last time, not to destroy but to contain. The technology, developed jointly by all four allied species, created a permanent energy barrier around Zuriel's form, limiting its ability to project into normal space or feed on belief energy. "The terms of your continued existence are simple," Bennett stated. "Sign the Galactic Accord recognizing the sovereignty of all sentient species. Renounce all claims of divinity. Return to your dimension and never again prey upon developing civilizations." With no alternative, the weakened Celestial agreed. The Galactic Accord became the first interspecies treaty signed by humanity, establishing Earth as a founding member of a new interstellar alliance dedicated to protecting vulnerable civilizations from exploitation. When Bennett's team returned to normal space, they found the battle won. The remaining Celestial ships had surrendered or fled. Earth was scared but free. In the years that followed, humanity rebuilt. Cities rose from ruins, stronger than before. The technology gained from the alliance accelerated human development by centuries. Earth established diplomatic relations with dozens of other species, many of them former victims of celestial domination.